Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your Manchester United versus Aston Villa preview. Also the latest on Semenyo coming in from Fabrizio Romano. But this is Manchester United's last game before Christmas, and will they deliver a Christmas present after a year where they've been pretty naughty, they've been pretty bad? Can they deliver for the fans? Well, I tell you what, it's going to be very difficult because Aston Villa have won their last 9 games in a row. And they're third in the league, and they're third in the league for home form as well. We'll delve into that, but let's start off with a bit of transfer news because one player I think both these teams would like, but only Man United are in for, is Semenyo. And this is the update from Fabrizio Romano. Semenyo is expected to leave Bournemouth next month in the first few days of the January transfer window as per his release clause. Liverpool have called to understand the terms of a deal. They like the player, but they haven't made official contact. Spurs, the last few days, are not advancing. Man United and Man City are both in the race. So one falls, and that's Spurs. And probably quite wise of Spurs to drop out because who's going to pick Spurs over Liverpool, Man United or Man City? I wouldn't leave Liverpool out. I know that update will get people excited because you could really go to town and say Spurs are out the race, Liverpool aren't in the race, Man City, Pep Guardiola could be leaving in the summer, so Man United's the place to go. That's the positive way. The other way of looking at it is Man United is a graveyard for careers, and Amrim could be gone by next summer. So, you know, you can twist and turn it as much as you like. I think it's exciting we're in the race. There has to be a midfielder this January. We can't just not buy a midfielder again. So there has to be a midfielder, and if we get Semenyo as well, very exciting. Man City is difficult regardless of whether Pep goes or not. It's still Man City. They'll still be in the Champions League. They'll still have Erling Haaland, Phil Foden. They'll still have an amazing team. They'll have a new manager who may be a little bit more encouraging of wingers. And just because Liverpool haven't made any official contact yet doesn't mean they won't. If they get an indication that the player wants Man United or Man City, they probably won't. If they get an indication that he likes Liverpool, they probably will. So, interesting update from Fabrizio. We're still in the race. Let me know your thoughts on that. But we're here to talk about this, and there's a player missing. Where have you gone, Mason Mount? Where have you gone? You're meant to be there. Bloody hell. That was an accident, although it does make for good content. So, Manchester United against Aston Villa on Saturday. On Sunday afternoon. Big game for Manchester United. And as we know, when we look at the league table, this is how it looks at the moment. We are currently in 6th place, but by the time we play Aston Villa, there will be an opportunity for Liverpool to beat Spurs and go above us. Everton are playing Arsenal, so we should be okay with that. I think Brighton are at home. They could go level with us potentially, or above us on goal difference. Sunderland, I think, have got a difficult away game. Sunderland are playing Brighton, actually, so I think that'll be very difficult. So we should be okay in holding on to at least 6th, maybe 7th. But regardless of what happens this weekend, we should be okay. But that's not really what I want to talk about, because I want to talk about the fact that if we could win this game, we could go up to 4th. You know, Chelsea got a difficult game against Newcastle. We'd be closing the gap on Villa. And there's a lot of people looking at this game and going, what's going to happen if we lose? What's going to happen if we win? And why aren't we looking to win? Because Aston Villa, we don't want that gap between us and Aston Villa going to 10 points. My top 4 this year is Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. If Aston Villa are 10 points clear of us, is that 5th gone? Are people missing the memo here? If we lose to Villa, 10-point gap to Villa, is that 5th place gone? Because I don't think Villa will be in the top 4 at the end of the season. I don't. But 10-point gap is going to be very difficult for a team like United to close. So absolutely imperative. And there won't be many people who analyse this preview like I've just done there. This is about this gap with Villa not becoming 10 points. This is not just a difficult game at Villa Park. If Villa win, they're 10 points ahead of us. And I think Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City and Arsenal will get top 4. So that's top 5 gone with a 10-point gap, or very, very difficult. So it's essential that we don't get beat. Ideally, win. We've got a good record at Villa Park. The problem we've got is, as you can see there, we have no De Ligt, we have no Maguire, we have no Casemiro because he is suspended, we have no Mazraoui, we have no Ahmad, and we have no Mbeumo because of AFCON. So you've clearly lost half your team. Casemiro's a starter, De Ligt's a starter, Ahmad's a starter, and Mbeumo's a starter, and you could argue that Mazraoui's a starter. So half our team is missing. We can't cry because this is what other teams have, but it does make it very difficult, especially after what we did against Bournemouth. You can add into the equation Bruno's interview, the leaking of the liner, the formation, Mainoo's T-shirts. You know, there's a lot going into this game, and we need to be together because we're not going to be as strong as we could be. Now, Aston Villa, as I said, they've won 9 of their last 9 games in a row. Their last loss was Anfield 2-0. When it comes to the Premier League, as we saw, they're in 3rd place at the moment, but their home form has them in 3rd place as well. They've only lost 1 game at home this season. They've only drawn 1 game at home this season, and they've won 6. They're not big scorers, to be honest. 13 goals at home compared to Man City's 22, Arsenal's 20, Sunderland's 15, Brentford's 16, and Newcastle's 14. So they've scored less goals than quite a lot of teams. In fact, Brighton have scored more goals than them at home. But they don't concede many either. They've got the 2nd best home defence in the league with Man City with 6. Obviously, Arsenal have 3, having the best defence at home. So it's going to be very difficult. Now, our away form isn't terrible. It's actually our away form is actually better than our home form now. Our home form has us in 11th. Away form has us in 7th. 3 wins, 3 draws, and 2 losses, with 14 goals scored. So we've scored more goals away from home than Villa have scored at home. So, look, we just had a 4-4 with Bournemouth. Who knows what can happen? But I do feel that if we can defend well, Villa aren't historically this season big scorers. Although in their last couple of games they have been very good because you know they've beaten Bournemouth 4-0. They've scored 4 against Villa, and they've scored 3 against West Ham. So they have started to pick up, and obviously I think their low home scoring record is probably because at the start of the season it took them ages to score. So, you know, maybe that's out the window, what I've just said there. But I think if we want to get something out of this game, we can't afford to be conceding 3 or 4 goals again. I think we're going to have to defend well and then rely on moments, counter-attacking, Bruno, you know, those sort of things, Cunha maybe. I think that's how we get something out of Villa, because they will be worried about us. We have an amazing record at Villa Park. Every Villa fan I've spoken to this week sees us as the bogey team, sees us as the team that's, you know, going to get a result on Sunday. So we should go into it with some confidence, even though that team scares the shit out of me. Pardon my French. But it does, because you look at that side and you go, Le Mans I like, but obviously the shiny new toy isn't as shiny as he was in some fans' eyes. I saw a lot of criticism for him at the start of the week. I don't think he did anything wrong against Bournemouth. I've watched every single goal. If you've got prime David De Gea in goal, I think he saves a couple of them, but that's a world-class goalkeeper. We can't expect Le Mans to be at that level, and he's certainly better than Onana. He made 2 very good saves in stoppage time that stopped us losing not only that game, but our Premier League record of never losing when we've been winning at half-time at Old Trafford. So he made 2 big saves, and I think 3 of the finishes by Bournemouth were good. So, look, of course he can be better, but I'm happy with Le Mans. The back 4 is a problem. No De Ligt, no Maguire. You've got Yoro and you've got Heaven, who are kids. If we're going to play a back 4, and obviously I've predicted we are playing a back 4, part of me still, I'll talk about the 3-4-3 in a minute, but let's presume he's playing a back 4. Obviously it'll be Delo at right back. I'd like to think it'll be Luke Shaw at left back, which means you'd have to play Martinez left centre back and then Yoro right centre back. That defence worries me, and that's the best one. I mean, you could play Heaven, you could put Luke Shaw left centre back and play Dorgu, but you're not strengthening it. I think that's the strongest defence we can play on paper, and I don't think it's strong enough. In fact, having been used to a 3 centre-back system, it feels a little bit vulnerable to me. So, yeah, I'd be worried about that defence. Mainoo and Ugarte, it might not be that, but I'm thinking, when you look at the front 3, to put Bruno where Mainoo is and play Cunha where Bruno is, who's going to play on the left? So I'm sort of like thinking, if we're playing a 4-3-3, it surely has to be Ugarte and Mainoo, with Bruno in front of that. Obviously, Bruno in a 10 would be great, but Mainoo and Ugarte haven't played a lot of football, and it's a good Villa midfield. You could see us getting overwhelmed with that defence and that midfield. And the last thing you want to do is go to a 4-3-3 and get absolutely battered. And then the front 3, look, forget the width. I don't think Cunha and Mount are going to provide us with a lot of width. You'd hope that Luke Shaw and Delo can do that. And maybe benefit from some crosses into the box to Sesko. I think Cunha and Mount would be more interchanging, making, dropping into the midfield, trying to overwhelm the midfield of Aston Villa. I think that's what I'd be looking to do. It'd be a massive leap into the unknown, but I think the alternative is to go for a 3-4-3, which would see probably Martinez on the bench. You'd bring Heaven in. You'd play Luke Shaw. Then you'd have 3 defenders. Delo would probably play on the right. You put Dorgo on the left. You'd play Bruno and Agate. And that would leave me with... How many players would I have left then? I still have another 3, so I'd probably play the same front 3. So effectively, you take Semenyo out the team and Martinez out the team, and you bring Dorgu and Heaven in. I think we'd be defensively stronger. But apparently we're going to go with the 4-3-3. So, look, it's tough. On paper, Villa should win this game. Villa should win it. They've won the last 9. They're very good at home. They're 3rd in the league. We're missing key players. We're apparently flirting with changing formation. And I don't think that's a good sign, by the way. On a real, I don't think it's a good sign to be changing your formation at Christmas. And you can disagree, but I think it sends a message of panic, of we can't play the system. I think it's an admission of something. Whatever you want that admission to be, let me know in the comments. But it doesn't mean it's the wrong thing to do, but it's worrying. You can't sit there last season saying it's unfair to judge Amrim until he's had a pre-season. I said that. You can't say, it's unfair to bring a manager in the season when they haven't had time to play, to coach the players. And it's very hard to do it in season. And then we're literally going to do that. We're literally going to try and learn a new formation while the season's ongoing. It could be concerning. And look, that team, if that's the team and that's the formation, it could get a result. We went to Villa Park last year with Ten Hag right at the end of his reign, and I think he picked Johnny Evans. We were absolutely shit, but we somehow got a draw. We played Aston Villa at the end of last season, a few days after the Europa League, and we beat them 2-0, and they needed the Champions League. So we do have a bit of a thing over Aston Villa, and that team could get a result. On the other hand, I look at that team and go, there could be a few issues there. I mean, can Luke Shaw play left back? Is Martinez really fit enough to play Premier League football? Semenyo and Agate haven't played for a while. Will that front 3 work? So, look, it's 11 against 11, and we have a good record at Villa Park. Everything else suggests that we'll get beat, but you have to go into it and go, look, the most important thing is that we don't get beat. We need Champions League football. This is the last game before Christmas. We literally cannot be in a position where we're 10 points behind Aston Villa, which we will be if we lose, because I'd put Villa as 5th. So we need to finish above Villa. And 10-point gap is not easy to overturn when you're as inconsistent as we are. I mean, the guy's still trying to get a bloody haircut. The only way you overcome a 10-point gap is if you can start winning 5-6 games in a row. And we obviously can't do that. His hair said different. So, look, I don't do predictions on this, but you can. If I was advising you, I would say everything suggests Villa are better than us. They're at home. They're higher in the league than us. They should beat us. But we have a very good record at Villa Park. We have a very good record against Aston Villa. And whenever people write us off, I'm thinking about Anfield a couple of months ago, we tend to get a result. The light switch tends to be on when nobody fancies us. So I have a feeling that we can get something out of this. But also, we have to get something out of this because, as I've been saying for the last 24 hours, if we lose this game on Sunday, where we're going to be on Sunday night and Monday is right back in to the whole Amrim out and all that stuff, because the league won't look good. It's another loss. And we're back where we've been numerous times this season. I think if we can get a win, fantastic. If we can get a draw, it gives us something to take into the Newcastle game. And then after that, you've got Wolves, 3 points, Burnley and Leeds away, hopefully another 6, into the January transfer window. And you're in that race for the top 5 again. If you lose this game, Newcastle becomes a very difficult game on Boxing Day with that team. You maybe lose that. You're not looking at Europe at all. January transfer window, this game I think is huge. But we are Manchester United and it is Aston Villa. And we shouldn't just be looking at it going, can we get a lucky result? If we want European football, we have to get a result. And these are the games, I think, where the players and Ruben Amorim need to show that we are Manchester United and we have a plan this season. Over to you. Get your comments in. Obviously, we spoke about Semenyo as well. Do give a comment. Do you think we're going to get Semenyo? My percentage at the moment is, I'd say we've got about a 30% chance. Not because it's 70% City. I think City have probably got a 50% chance and maybe Liverpool 20% at the moment. But I think we've got about a 30% chance at the moment, which isn't terrible. It's not terrible. It's whether it's the right deal to do. I just say we've got to get a midfielder as well. Absolutely. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. If you're watching at 8 o'clock, I'm probably live on That's Football watching Dortmund play Mönchengladbach live on That's Football. So get yourself over to there. I'll speak to you in a bit. Take care. Smash a like on the video and I'll speak to you on the next one. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching.